I was 7 months pregnant, carrying groceries up 3 flights of stairs, while my husband sat on the couch playing video games. When I finally set the bags down, sweating and out of breath, he looked at me and said, "You're getting disgusting to look at. You better lose that weight fast, or I'll find someone who actually takes care of herself." His friends laughed. I just smiled. 72 hours later, he was calling me nonstop, begging me. Girlies, I'm literally sitting in a hotel room right now, 7 months pregnant, trying to process what just happened today. Like, am I overreacting? Am I in shock? IDK, but I need to get this out somewhere. Long post, sorry. So for context, Alan and I have been together for 5 years, married for 3. We met doing community theater where I was working on costumes and he was playing the lead. He was this super charismatic musician type who seemed passionate about everything. I fell hard. Things started shifting when I got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but after the initial shock, I was excited. Alan, not so much. He said all the right things, but actions speak louder than words. And his actions were spending more time gaming with his buddies and less time helping around the house. I told myself he was just processing the big change in his own way. Men, a mirate? Plus, this pregnancy has been rough. Throwing up nonstop for 3 months, then anemia, and now my back feels like someone's twisting it in half most days. Which brings me to today. I had just finished work and stopped by Trader Joe's on the way home. We live in a 3rd floor walk-up, no elevator, and my car was full of groceries. When I got home, Alan was sprawled on our couch playing Call of Duty with his headset on, surrounded by empty Monster cans. I asked if he could help bring up the groceries. He just waved me off and said he was in the middle of something important. So there I was, 7 months pregnant, waddling up and down 3 flights of stairs with heavy grocery bags. By the 6th trip, I was drenched in sweat. My back was screaming, and I could feel my ankles swelling inside my shoes. When I finally set the last bags down, I collapsed onto the kitchen chair, trying to catch my breath. That's when Alan looks over from the couch and says, "I'm not even exaggerating this. Jesus, you're getting disgusting to look at. You better lose that weight fast after the baby, or I'll find someone who actually takes care of herself." I literally couldn't process what I just heard. Then I heard laughter coming through his headset. His gaming friends heard him. He wanted them to hear him. Instead of crying or screaming like he probably expected, I walked over, smiled, kissed his forehead, and told him I needed a shower. The confused look on his face would have been funny if I wasn't dying inside. In the shower, with the water drowning out any sound, I finally let myself cry. But they weren't just sad tears. They were angry tears, clarity tears. I suddenly saw every red flag I'd been ignoring for 5 years in perfect focus. This wasn't new behavior. It was just the most blatant example yet. This was who he really was. And I was about to bring a child into this. A child who would learn that this is what relationships look like. A child who would either learn to treat others this way or accept being treated this way. No. Just no. I got out of the shower, put on my comfiest maternity dress, and told Alan I needed some air and time to think. He barely looked up from his game. I grabbed my hospital go bag, already packed because I'm a planner, my laptop, my important documents, and walked out. I'm now at a hotel about 20 minutes away. I've called my sister Anne, who lives about an hour from here, and she's coming tomorrow to help me figure things out. Alan has called twice and texted once asking where the leftovers are in the fridge. Not where I am, where the leftovers are. I need to leave him. I need to protect myself and my baby. But I'm terrified. I'm 7 months pregnant. Our lease is in both our names. Our finances are somewhat entangled, though I've always kept my own separate account where my paychecks go, thank God. I was counting on having a partner for childcare and expenses. But I keep coming back to that moment in the kitchen. The casual cruelty. The way he said it like he was commenting on the weather. The fact that he wanted his friends to hear it. I should have left years ago. I deserve better. My baby deserves better. I don't know exactly what my next steps are, but I know I'm not going back to that apartment tonight. Maybe not ever. Edit. A lot of people are asking if this was the first time he said something like this. No, it wasn't. There have been jokes about my changing body throughout the pregnancy, comments about how I used to be so hot, and questions about my plan to get back in shape. But they were always couched as concern, or wrapped in enough humor that I could tell myself he didn't mean it that way. Today was just mask off. Edit 2. To those suggesting I should have communicated better or tried to work things out, we've had many conversations about division of labor, especially since I got pregnant. His promises to do better last about 48 hours. I've suggested couples therapy 3 times. He's always too busy. Today wasn't a one-off bad day. It was just the day I finally saw clearly. Update. Same night. It's 2 a.m. and I can't sleep. Alan finally realized I wasn't coming home tonight and has been blowing up my phone. First with confusion. Where are you? Then irritation. You're being dramatic. Then attempts at guilt. I was just joking. You know how the guys are. The latest text was a threat about how I better not be spending our money on a hotel. Our money. The same money that's 90% from my paycheck while he invests in his music career and gaming setup. I've decided I'm meeting with a lawyer before I go back to that apartment. I've muted his notifications and am trying to rest for my baby's sake. My sister will be here in the morning. The baby is kicking like crazy right now. I put my hand on my belly and whispered, "I've got you. We're going to be okay." And for the first time today, I actually believe it. First update. It's been about 4 weeks since my last post, and I need to update because things have gotten so intense. Thank you to everyone who commented with support. Your messages kept me going when I wanted to give up. So after that night, when Alan called me disgusting for gaining pregnancy weight, my sister Anne came and we talked through my options. We decided I needed to go back to the apartment temporarily while I got my affairs in order. Many of you warned me not to let Alan know I was planning to leave until I was ready, and OMG, you were so right. When I returned home, Alan acted like nothing had happened. When I brought up his comment, he rolled his eyes and said I was being too sensitive and it was just a joke. Then he tried to turn it around on me saying, "I've been so moody lately," and he's walking on eggshells. He actually said, "Do you know how hard this pregnancy has been for me?" For him. I nearly lost it, but I remembered my plan. So I took a deep breath, apologized for overreacting, and said I was just tired and hormonal. The relief on his face was immediate. He thought he had won, that I was back in line, and everything could go back to normal. Little did he know, I was already consulting with a divorce attorney. The past month has been one of the most challenging of my life. I've been living a double life, outwardly playing the role of apologetic pregnant wife while systematically preparing to leave. Here's what I've done so far. I've been keeping a detailed journal of Alan's behavior, including dates, times, and exactly what he says. I've also quietly recorded some of our conversations on my phone where he's been particularly nasty. My lawyer says this could help with the divorce. I've always kept my paycheck going to my personal account, thank God. But I've now moved my direct deposit entirely to a new account at a different bank. I've been slowly moving money from our joint account to my private account in small amounts that wouldn't raise suspicion, basically reclaiming what I've contributed over the years. While going through our financial records, I discovered something that made me sick to my stomach. Alan has a credit card in my name that I didn't know existed. He's racked up over $5,000 in debt for his gaming PC and other stuff. I've reported the fraud to the credit card company and provided evidence it wasn't me. I've gathered all important documents, birth certificate, marriage license, bank statements, tax returns. Everything is now in a secure location outside our apartment. My sister helped me find a small 2-bedroom apartment that's ground floor, no stairs, has laundry in unit, and is in a secure building. I signed the lease last week. It's not fancy, but it's clean, safe, and mine. I've been quietly packing essential items. I've been slowly gathering my truly important possessions and moving them to my sister's place when Alan is out. Nothing obvious enough for him to notice, but the things that matter most to me. I also got a burner phone that Alan doesn't know about. My regular phone stays with me and acts normal, but I have a backup he can't track. Living this double life has been exhausting, especially while 8 months pregnant. My ankles are swollen constantly. My back aches all the time, and the baby feels like she's practicing parkour on my bladder and ribs simultaneously. But each step I take toward freedom gives me strength. The hardest part has been pretending everything is normal. Cooking his meals, laughing at his jokes, listening to him complain about his bandmates, watching him play video games for hours while I handle everything else. Even sleeping next to him makes my skin crawl now that I've stopped gaslighting myself about who he really is. He's gotten worse, too. Now that he thinks I've accepted his behavior, the mask has slipped further. Last week, he invited his gaming friends over for a guys' night without telling me until they were at the door. I had just gotten home from work and was lying down because my back was spasming. He actually came into the bedroom and told me I should make myself useful and order them some pizzas. When I said I was in pain, he sighed dramatically and said, "Being pregnant isn't a disability. Women have been doing it forever." And his mom worked until the day before she had him. A lie, Betuzao. I checked with his mom on a casual phone call and she had complications requiring bed rest for the last month. The guys were right there in the living room hearing everything. I caught one of them looking uncomfortable, but nobody said anything. I ended up ordering the pizzas from bed and paying for them with my own money. When they arrived, Alan yelled for me to get the door because they were in the middle of a match. I had to haul myself up, walk past all of them in my pajamas, pay the delivery person, and set out plates and napkins while they ignored me. After they left around 2 a.m., leaving empty beer cans and pizza boxes everywhere, Alan came to bed and tried to initiate sex. When I said I was exhausted, he said, "Come on, it's not like you need to do anything. Just lie there like you usually do." I went to the bathroom and silently cried, reminding myself I only had to endure this for a little while longer. My plan is to move out next weekend when Alan goes to his parents' place for his dad's birthday. He'll be gone overnight, which gives me a full 24 hours to execute everything with help from my sister, 2 close friends, and, surprisingly, Alan's younger brother Rory, who witnessed one of Alan's outbursts last month and secretly contacted me afterward to offer help. My lawyer has prepared all the divorce papers. I'll freeze our joint account, take what's rightfully mine, leave the papers with a detailed note explaining exactly why I'm leaving, and be gone before he returns. I'm not going to lie. I'm terrified. I wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, wondering if I can really do this. But then I feel my daughter kick, and I know I have to. I refuse to raise her in a home where her mother is disrespected daily. I refuse to let her think this is what love looks like. In a strange way, I'm grateful for that horrible moment with the groceries. Without that mask completely dropping, I might have continued making excuses for his behavior for years. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd met the real Alan from the beginning instead of the charming theater guy who swept me off my feet. The red flags were always there. I just didn't want to see them because I was too busy being in love. My doctor says my blood pressure is too high, likely from stress, so I need to take it easy this final month. The irony isn't lost on me that planning to leave Alan is stressful in the short term, but absolutely necessary for my long-term health and well-being. To those who suggested therapy in my last post, I've started seeing someone virtually who specializes in relationship trauma and pregnancy. It's been incredibly helpful to have validation that I'm not overreacting or hormonal. This is real emotional abuse, and I deserve better. I'll update again after everything goes down next weekend. Wish me luck because I'm going to need it, bestie. Edit. Just got a notification that this post is blowing up while I'm at my doctor appointment. We'll try to answer questions when I get home. Thank you again for all the support. Update. Same day. Just had to add, Alan just texted asking what's for dinner tonight. I'm literally at my doctor's appointment for our baby, which he chose not to attend because he had a really important band practice. Translation: jamming in his friend's garage for hours while drinking beer. Yet somehow I'm still expected to provide dinner. I've been picking my battles to avoid suspicion, so I'll probably grab takeout on the way home. 4 more days until he leaves for his parents. 4 more days of pretending. I can do this. Oh, and the doctor says baby girl is measuring perfectly and has a strong heartbeat. Not that Alan asked. She's already doing gymnastics in there. I think she knows we're about to start a better life. Yesterday, while Alan was gaming, shocker, I secretly ordered the cutest crib for my new place. It's being delivered to Anne's house next week. I've never bought something so expensive without overthinking it, but it felt so good to make a decision entirely for me and my daughter. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror this morning getting ready for work, and I actually smiled. Not because I looked particularly good, let's be real, I'm 8 months pregnant and exhausted AF, but because I recognized myself again. That spark in my eyes that had disappeared years ago is starting to come back. Last night, I rehearsed what I'm going to write in my note to Alan. It felt so validating to put all of his behavior into words. No more making excuses, no more minimizing, just the plain truth about who he is and why I'm leaving. I'm still scared about doing this alone. Single motherhood wasn't in my life plan, but staying with Alan would cost me my self-respect and eventually my sanity. And what kind of mother could I be then? 4 more days. Just 4 more days of this double life, then freedom. Second update. It's done. I'm out. I'm sitting in my new apartment as I type this, surrounded by boxes and a partially assembled crib, but I've never felt more at peace despite the chaos. Here's how it all went down. As planned, Alan left yesterday morning for his dad's birthday weekend at his parents' place about 3 hours away. He was actually in a good mood for once, probably because he was escaping pregnant wife duty for a full weekend. He kissed me goodbye, told me not to do anything crazy while he was gone, and said he'd be back Sunday evening. The moment his car pulled away, Operation Exodus began. My sister Anne arrived with her SUV 10 minutes later, followed by my friend Mia with a small moving truck she borrowed from her workplace. Alan's brother Rory showed up shortly after, looking nervous but determined. We had exactly 32 hours to move me out completely. Looking at the apartment that morning was surreal. For 5 years I'd lived there, slowly losing pieces of myself while pretending everything was fine. We worked methodically through the apartment, following the inventory list I'd created over the past few weeks. First, all my personal items and clothes that Alan wouldn't immediately notice were missing. Then baby items I'd purchased myself. Then furniture that was clearly mine from before our relationship. Rory was amazing, handling all the heavy lifting despite my protests that he shouldn't be helping me leave his brother. At one point, he paused while carrying out my dresser and said, "Alan's my brother, but what he's doing to you is wrong. My mom raised us better than this." It nearly made me cry right there in the hallway. The most satisfying moment was disconnecting Alan's precious gaming PC, the one he'd fraudulently bought using a credit card in my name. I carefully packed it in its original box while Rory watched awkwardly. I could tell he was torn between family loyalty and doing what's right. I told him he didn't have to help with this part, but he just shook his head and carried the box to the truck, muttering something about Alan finally facing consequences. By 7 p.m., most of my belongings were out. We ordered pizza. Seems to be a theme in my life lately. But this time, it was a celebration meal with people who actually cared about me. We sat on the floor of my new apartment eating directly from the box, laughing with exhaustion and relief. This morning, we went back for the final phase. I deep cleaned the apartment, not for Alan, but because I didn't want to give him anything else to complain about. Packed my last few items and prepared what I was leaving behind. On the kitchen counter, I left divorce papers, filed but not yet served, a folder with evidence of his financial fraud, documentation showing the gaming PC was purchased with a fraudulent card in my name, a USB drive with recordings of his verbal abuse, and a note that simply said, "Find someone better from your couch, I already have." I didn't take everything. I left most of the furniture we'd bought together, though I did take photos of everything in case he tries to claim I took things I didn't. I'm not interested in pettiness. I just want out with what's rightfully mine. The hardest part was making it all work at 8.5 months pregnant. My back was screaming by the end of day 1, and this morning I woke up with my hands so swollen I could barely grip anything. But adrenaline is a hell of a thing, and knowing I was finally breaking free kept me going when I wanted to collapse. I called Alan's cell phone once I was safely in my new place. No answer, as expected. I left a voicemail telling him not to bother coming to my sister's place looking for me, as I wasn't there, and that he would find everything he needed to know on the kitchen counter. I then sent a text with the same information, blocked his number, and emailed his parents letting them know Alan and I were separating and why, so he couldn't spin a narrative making me the villain. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Clearly Alan using his friends' phones to try to reach me. I didn't answer. Eventually, his mother called my sister, they've always been close, who simply confirmed I was safe and that Alan had treated me terribly throughout the pregnancy. His mom actually broke down crying and apologized for her son's behavior, which wasn't expected but was oddly healing. According to Rory, who's keeping me updated, Alan came home early after getting my message. He apparently went ballistic when he found the empty apartment and divorce papers. He called everyone we know trying to find me, alternating between rage, confusion, and suddenly claiming he wanted to fix things. Several of Alan's friends have actually reached out to express support for me. Turns out they weren't all laughing along with his cruelty. Many were uncomfortable but didn't speak up. One even confessed they had a guy's talk with him about his behavior toward me months ago, but he dismissed them as being whipped by their wives. Another said he'd stopped inviting us to couple events because he couldn't stand watching how Alan treated me. I wish they had said something to me directly, but I understand why they didn't. It's still comforting to know not everyone thought his behavior was acceptable. As for me, I'm exhausted but relieved. My new apartment is small but bright, with a park nearby and a small balcony where I've already set up a chair for morning coffee. My hospital is only a 10-minute drive away. I've changed my email addresses, created new social media accounts, and set up mail forwarding. I've told my workplace about my situation, and they've been incredibly supportive. The baby is due in just over 3 weeks, though my doctor suspects she might come a bit early based on my last appointment. I'm both terrified and excited to meet her. I never imagined I'd be doing this alone, but I'd rather be a single mom than raise her in a toxic household. I know the hard part isn't over. The divorce will likely get ugly. Alan isn't the type to accept defeat gracefully, and I'm prepared for him to fight me on everything out of spite. But my lawyer is confident, especially with the documentation I've gathered. For those wondering about Alan's parental rights, yes, he will legally have them unless he chooses to terminate them, which I doubt. My lawyer is helping me prepare for co-parenting with appropriate boundaries. I'm realistic that he'll probably be an inconsistent father at best, but I'm prepared to provide stability on my end. I'm also continuing therapy to process everything. I refuse to carry this trauma into my daughter's life or any future relationships. To everyone who supported me through my previous posts, thank you. Your encouragement and advice helped me find the courage to leave when I was wavering. I'm still scared about the future, but for the first time in years, I'm also hopeful. Edit, same day. Alan just sent an email since I've blocked his number saying he's coming to Anne's place tonight to talk and that I'm making a huge mistake. I've already alerted Anne, who has informed him I'm not there, and that if he shows up, she'll call the police for trespassing. I've also documented this in case I need to file for a protective order. Update, next morning. Alan showed up at Anne's place at 11 p.m. despite being told I wasn't there. Anne didn't answer the door, but her neighbor recorded him yelling and pounding on her door for nearly 10 minutes before leaving. He also left all of our wedding photos on her front porch with a note saying, "I threw away everything we built." The irony of him suddenly caring about our marriage isn't lost on me. This morning, he emailed again, this time with a complete shift in tone, apologizing, saying he didn't realize how his behavior affected me, promising to change, go to therapy, be a better father, etc. The old me might have wavered. The new me sees this for what it is, a manipulation tactic because he's lost control. His apology was all about him, how he feels, what he wants, how hard this is for him. Not once did he acknowledge the specific ways he hurt me or how his behavior might affect our child. I didn't respond. My lawyer advised against any direct communication that isn't through her at this point. I'm spending today setting up the nursery with Anne and trying to rest as much as possible. Baby girl is extra active today, as if she knows we're finally somewhere safe. TikTok keeps serving me those signs he's actually in love with you videos, and I just have to laugh. I spent 5 years confusing control for care and convenience for love. Never again, bestie. Never again. Last update. It's been about 10 months since my first post, and so much has changed that I wanted to give everyone a final update. First and most importantly, my daughter Lily is now 6 months old, healthy, happy, and absolutely the light of my life. She has my eyes, Alan's nose, unfortunately, and a personality that's entirely her own. She started sitting up unassisted last week and is currently obsessed with a stuffed sloth my sister got her. Her favorite thing is when I sing to her while dancing around the kitchen, which I do often because her giggle is the best sound in the universe. The birth was intense. I went into labor 3 weeks early, just 5 days after moving into my new apartment. My sister Anne was my birthing partner, and honestly, she was amazing. After 19 hours of labor, including 3 hours of pushing, Lily arrived at 6:22 a.m. screaming her little head off. The moment they placed her on my chest, I knew every difficult decision I'd made was absolutely worth it. I didn't inform Alan I was in labor. My lawyer advised that I wasn't obligated to, and after his erratic behavior following my departure, I was concerned about adding stress to an already stressful situation. I notified him of Lily's birth the day after, via email, with a formal photo of her, not one with me in it, and basic information about her health and birth statistics. His response was a mess of anger about not being called, followed by demands to see his daughter immediately, followed by accusations that I was using her as a pawn. My lawyer handled all communication, explaining that given his recent behavior, we would be establishing a formal visitation schedule through the courts. Now here's something I haven't shared before, possibly my pettiest but most satisfying moment in this whole saga. Remember how during my pregnancy, Alan told me I was getting disgusting to look at and needed to lose that weight fast after the baby? Well, when Lily was about 3 months old and I was starting to feel like myself again, I did something kind of epic. During the divorce proceedings, we discovered Alan had been hiding money in a separate account. My lawyer fought hard, and I was awarded a significant portion of those funds since they were technically marital assets. Instead of just putting it all into savings like a responsible adult, I decided Lily and I deserved a break. I booked us a 5-day trip to a beachfront resort in Florida. My sister came along to help with Lily, and for the first time in forever, I actually relaxed. On our 3rd day there, I was sitting by the pool while Lily napped in her stroller under an umbrella. I was wearing my first bikini since before pregnancy. My body looked different. Stretch marks, a C-section scar, softer in places, but I felt proud of what it had accomplished. I asked Anne to take a photo of me in my swimsuit, looking out at the ocean. I looked happy, confident, and yes, already a bit slimmer than I had been while pregnant. Duh. I sent that photo directly to Alan with just one caption. Already slimming down, don't worry. Then I blocked him again before he could respond. Satisfying? You have no idea. That moment of reclaiming my body, my confidence, and yes, some of his hidden money, felt like the final piece of breaking free from his control. I never heard what his reaction was, but according to Rory, Alan was livid when he received it. The divorce proceedings continued to be exactly as difficult as I expected. Alan contested everything possible, initially demanding full custody, despite having shown zero interest in baby preparations during my pregnancy, then our entire apartment's contents, despite leaving the furniture when I moved out, and even my car, which I owned before we met. His tune changed dramatically when my lawyer presented evidence of his financial fraud and verbal abuse. Suddenly, he was willing to negotiate. We finally settled 3 months ago. I have primary physical custody of Lily. Alan has supervised visitation for 4 hours every other weekend. Child support was set based on his actual income, which we discovered was higher than he claimed. He kept his belongings, I kept mine, and we split the minimal joint assets. He's responsible for the fraudulent credit card debt. Is it a perfect outcome? No, but it's one I can live with, and it provides stability for Lily. Alan has seen Lily exactly twice since she was born. The first visit, when she was 8 weeks old, he showed up 40 minutes late and spent most of the time complaining about the supervised visitation requirement and taking photos to post on Instagram with captions about being a devoted dad. The second visit was at 4 months, where he seemed uncomfortable with her fussiness and left early. He's canceled the last 3 scheduled visits with increasingly thin excuses. Part of me is hurt for Lily's sake, but mostly I'm relieved. Each interaction with him is emotionally draining, and his inconsistency would only confuse her as she gets older. I've documented every canceled visit on my lawyer's advice. As for me, physically, my body has healed from birth, though it's different than before. I have stretch marks, a C-section scar, and I'm about 15 pounds heavier than my pre-pregnancy weight. And you know what? I'm completely at peace with that. Financially, I'm stable. Not rich by any means, but the child support helps, and I've become much better at budgeting now that I'm not subsidizing Alan's music career. I've even started a small savings account for Lily's future. As for Alan, last I heard through mutual friends, he's telling everyone I had postpartum psychosis and stole his daughter and his money. He conveniently leaves out the part where he committed financial fraud and verbally abused his pregnant wife. His Instagram is full of posts about fighting for his rights as a father, despite continually canceling his visitation. Classic idiot. Sometimes I think about that day with the groceries, how at the time it felt like the worst moment of my life, but in reality, it was the moment that saved me. Edit. So many people have asked for a tax, baby pic, but for privacy reasons, I can't share Lily's photo. Just imagine the cutest baby ever with chubby cheeks and a smile that could end wars. That's my girl. I just received a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Alan's mom, checking in on Lily and asking if she could visit sometime. Unlike Alan, she's been respectful of my boundaries and genuinely seems to care about her granddaughter. I'm considering allowing supervised visits with her, separate from Alan's time. Lily deserves to know the family members who will love her consistently and respectfully.